the late 1980s, the Green Bay Packers didn't have Aaron Rodgers. They didn't even have Brett Favre yet. What they had was magic. Before Titletown reclaimed its glory, one man single-handedly resurrected the deadest franchise in professional sports. His name was Don Majkowski. The fans called him the Magic Man. He didn't just play quarterback. He was a rock star with a mullet who threw for over 4,000 yards, led the entire NFL in passing, and finished second in the MVP race to Joe Montana. He was supposed to be the greatest Packer since Bart Starr. He was supposed to lead them to the Super Bowl. But just as fast as the magic appeared, it vanished. If you click this video, you know that the NFL is a ruthless business. But what happened to Don Majkowski goes beyond losing a starting job. It is the story of a man who sacrificed his body to save a franchise, only to have his destiny stolen in a single afternoon by a young kid from Mississippi named Brett Favre. And the brutal, untelevised reality of what the Magic Man has endured in the 30 years since he left the gridiron is something the NFL hopes you never see. This is the untold story of the rise, the replacement, and the agonizing aftermath of Don Majkowski. To understand how bright Majkowski shined, you have to realize how dark things were in Green Bay. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, the Packers were a disaster. Lambeau Field wasn't a fortress, it was a frozen graveyard. They had suffered through 2 decades of irrelevance. Then came the 1987 NFL Draft. In the 10th round, a round that doesn't even exist anymore, the Packers drafted a gritty, athletic quarterback out of Virginia. Don Majkowski was not a polished, systematic quarterback. He played the game like a backyard brawler. When the pocket collapsed, and in Green Bay, the pocket always collapsed, he didn't just throw the ball away, he scrambled. He spun out of tackles. He made sidearm throws across his body while diving into the mud. He brought an undeniable electric swagger to a city that had forgotten what it felt like to have hope. In 1989, that hope exploded into reality. The season became known simply as the Magic season. Majkowski put the entire franchise on his back. He threw for an astonishing 4,318 yards, leading the entire NFL. He threw 27 touchdowns. He orchestrated comeback after comeback, refusing to let his team lose. But if there is one moment that cemented his mythological status, it was November 5th, 1989. The infamous instant replay game. The Packers are playing their hated rivals, the Chicago Bears. It's 4th down, down by 6 points, 41 seconds left. Majkowski snaps the ball. The pocket instantly breaks down. He scrambles to his right, running for his life toward the sideline. Right before he crosses the line of scrimmage, he throws a desperate laser into the end zone. Touchdown. The referees initially flag him for throwing beyond the line of scrimmage. The stadium holds its breath. But after a grueling video review, the call is reversed. Touchdown stands, the Packers win. It was the loudest Lambeau Field had been in 20 years. Majkowski had officially arrived. He made the Pro Bowl. He finished second in MVP voting. The Packers finished with 10 wins, their best record since 1972. The Magic Man owned the NFL. But in football, magic is rarely built to last. The problem with playing backyard scrambling football is that eventually the defense catches you. In 1990, just months after signing a massive contract to be the face of the franchise, Majkowski suffered a severe rotator cuff injury. It required surgery. He rushed his rehab to get back on the field, but when he returned, his arm just wasn't the same. The swagger was still there, but the zip on the ball was gone. The Packers struggled. The front office grew impatient. In 1992, they fired their head coach and brought in Mike Holmgren. And more ominously, they traded a first-round pick for a chaotic backup quarterback from the Atlanta Falcons, Brett Favre. Holmgren gave Majkowski the starting job to open the 1992 season, but the leash was incredibly short. Then came Week 3 against the Cincinnati Bengals. It is a day that altered the course of NFL history, but for Majkowski, it was the day his career effectively ended. Majkowski drops back to pass. The pocket collapses. A defender rolls up heavily on his leg. Majkowski goes down, writhing in agony. He had completely torn a ligament in his ankle. As the trainers helped him off the field, he couldn't put any weight on it. He hobbled to the sideline and watched as the young backup, Brett Favre, strapped on his helmet and jogged onto the field. Favre struggled at first, but in the final seconds of the game, he threw a miraculous game-winning touchdown pass. The crowd erupted. The star was born. Don Majkowski, standing on the sideline with a shredded ankle, watched his era vanish in real time. Favre started the next week, then the next week. In fact, Brett Favre would start the next 297 consecutive games. Majkowski never started another game for the Green Bay Packers. The savior of the franchise, the man who made Lambeau Field believe again, was reduced to a footnote in Brett Favre's origin story. When his contract expired, Green Bay quietly let him go. He bounced around the league, 2 years in Indianapolis, 2 years in Detroit, before quietly retiring in 1996. But retiring from football didn't mean retiring from the pain. In fact, the nightmare was just beginning. When players leave the NFL, the cameras stop rolling. But the damage done to their bodies during the grit and grind era of 80s and 90s football doesn't just disappear. Today, if you look up the Magic Man, you won't see highlights of the instant replay game. You will see a man fighting a daily agonizing battle just to walk. Since retiring, Don Majkowski has endured over 20 different surgeries. The toll of taking those hits, of scrambling on the concrete like AstroTurf of the late 80s, completely destroyed his skeletal structure. His ankle, the one he tore against the Bengals, deteriorated so badly that doctors had to permanently fuse it together, locking his foot in a 90-degree angle. He has had multiple fusions in his back. He has had surgeries on his neck. The pain became so unbearable that he couldn't even stand up to do simple tasks around his house. He didn't make the hundreds of millions of dollars that today's quarterbacks make. He played in an era where the money was decent, but it wasn't generational wealth enough to offset a lifetime of crippling medical bills and chronic physical agony. It is the darkest, most unwritten truth of the National Football League. The fans cheer for the heroes. They buy the jerseys. They celebrate the impossible comebacks. But when the magic runs out, the heroes are left to deal with the broken pieces of their bodies in absolute silence. Don Majkowski gave the Green Bay Packers their soul back. He reminded a frozen city what it felt like to win. But the NFL moves on quickly. The minute Brett Favre threw that touchdown against the Bengals, the Magic Man became a ghost. And while Favre went on to Hall of Fame glory, Majkowski went on to waiting rooms and surgical tables. The 1990s Green Bay Packers will always be remembered for the rise of Brett Favre. But Don Majkowski wasn't the only superstar left behind in the shadows of Titletown. The man who caught those magical passes in 1989, Sterling Sharpe, suffered a tragedy that was even darker and even more silent. He was on pace to beat Jerry Rice's all-time records until one seemingly innocent play ended his life as he knew it. If you want to know the devastating truth about what really happened to the greatest wide receiver of the 90s, click the video on your screen right now. You won't believe how his story actually ends.